Hello there, Mr. Choose here with Tray Arithmetic. Let's talk about adding fractions. Some students struggle with adding fractions. Why? Because of all the rules. There are lots of rules that are involved when you're adding fractions. So if you have a proper fraction, which means it's not a mixed number, you find a common denominator, you add the numerators, and you simplify. And then if you have a mixed number, you convert the mix to an improper fraction, find a common denominator, add the numerators, simplify, and convert to mixed numbers if necessary. So I'm Mr. Chu, and I love helping you do the fractions. So I had an earlier TikTok version where I lured people into this lesson by saying, what happens when we do example 2 here? But before we do example 2, let's do an easier one, example 1. 3/4 plus 2/7 equals what? So, if you look on here, I need to find a common denominator, add the numerators, and then simplify. So a common denominator means that the number on the bottom, that is the denominator, in this case is a 4, and in this case is a 7, the number on the bottom has to be the same. When you have a fraction, you can't add 4s and 7s together. They have to be cut into the same amount of pieces, which are your denominator fractional parts. So I have to change the 4 and the 7 into a number that is the same. And I do that by multiplying the 4 by a number, and then multiplying the 7 by a different number until they're the same. And the easiest way to do this is to take 3/4 plus 2/7, and I have to take the 4, and I have to multiply it by something to get the same number as when I take the 7 and multiply it by something. The easiest way to do this, and I'll show you a shortcut method to solve this, is to just take this denominator over itself. Why? I call this a special 1 because 7 over 7 is 1. And when you multiply 3/4 by 1, you get the same number as what you started with, the same fraction. So now I have to take the 2/7 and multiply that 7th by a number to get the same one. Well, we're going to use the 4. So I multiply it by 4 over 4. And that is still 1. So I'm taking 3/4 times 1, which is 3/4, and 2/7 times 1, which is 2/7, and adding them together. I haven't changed the original fractions. I've just changed them to non-simplified form. So I take my 3 times my 7. I use that raised dot for multiplication over 4 times 7. And I'm showing every single step here. Plus the 2 times the 4, you multiply the numerators over 7 times 4. And you see what's going to happen? I'm going to get the same exact thing in the denominator. 3 times 7 is 21. 4 times 7 is 28. 2 times 4 is 8. 7 times 4 is 28. And now that I have the same denominator, I can put the numerators with the operation of addition. So it ends up being 29 over 28. Now this has a special name. Since the numerator is bigger than the denominator, it is called an improper fraction. Since it's an improper fraction, I have to convert it back to a mixed number. And the way I do that, I just take my 28 divided into 29. That goes one time. Remainder 1. So the answer is 1 and my remainder over the denominator. And that is my reduced answer. So I can see that while I'm doing this video, that Trey is up walking around on my desk. So he may come to see us. He's almost in the frame right now. If he lets me get to him, I'm going to pick him up. This is Trey, and I call this Tray Arithmetic. So he's up here fooling around, and I thought I would let him get on camera. All right, example 2. In example 2, I have a mixed number here. So I'm going to convert the mixed number to improper, find the common denominator, add the numerators, simplify, and convert to mixed number if necessary. And then I did that last step here on this one. So the way that you convert, I multiply the whole number times the denominator, and then I add the numerator and I put it over the denominator. I'll go through that again. I take my numerator, I'm going to multiply it by the denominator, so I write the denominator down, then the numerator, or the whole number rather, sorry, the denominator times the whole number plus the numerator over 3. All right, so now I'm going to take 5 times 1 is 5 plus 2 over 5. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is 7. I'll just write each step down. Sorry about that. So that's 6 plus 1 over 3. So that equals 5 plus 2 is 7 over 5 plus 7 over 3. So now that I have 7/5 plus 7/3, I'm no different than what I was over here now, even though they're improper, but we still use the same rules. So I'm going to take my 7/5 and I'm going to multiply it by something and add it to 7/3. I'm going to multiply it by something. All right, so what is the something? I told you the easiest way was just take the number of the denominator of the second one over itself, because that ends up being 1. And then instead of the 3, the denominator, 5 over 5. So let's look back and see what we just said now. We said that we're taking 7/5 times 1. Well, that ends up being 7/5. And then we're taking 7/3 times 1. That ends up being 7/3. So I have an equivalent expression there. All right, once we have this now, we take the 7 times 3. I multiply across the numerator, multiply across the denominator, multiply across the numerator, multiply across the denominator. And that's going to equal 21 over 15 plus 35 over 15. Now I have the same denominator, so I can add the numerators. So 21 plus 35 over 15 ends up being 56 over 15. Now you have to say, okay, this is improper, but I always look at that last step, convert to mixed number if necessary. So since this is improper, I have to convert it to a mixed number. So this means I take the number 56, and that bar means divide by 15. 4 of them would be 70, 3 of them would be 45. So 15 goes into 56 3 times. 3 times 5 is 15, carry the 1. Subtract that, I get 11. So that's remainder 11. So the way we write that, it's 3 and 11 over 15. That equals 3 and 11 over 15. That is Bear that you heard coughing, and he doesn't want you to get all choked up over adding fractions. And Bear is my mascot for Bear Algebra. So here's example 1 and 2. Now I have a couple challenge problems for you. So let me erase the top of this so that I can give you a challenge problem. So if I were you, I would take and get out a piece of paper right now. I have my challenge problems on another board. I'll just set up here so that you can see them quickly. You won't have to wait on me to write them down. So challenge 1, we're finding the common denominator and simplifying. So you're going to add these once you find the common denominator. 3/5 plus 5/8. Tell me what that equals. Simplify it, and if it is an improper fraction, change it back to a mixed number. Challenge 2. 6 and 2/3 plus 3 and 5/8. What does it equal? So here are your challenge problems. If you pause this right now, work them out, Then you can quickly click on a link that's going to come up here once you start this video again to see the worked solutions. And then down here will be more tray arithmetic videos. I'm Mr. Chew, and I want to help you learn fractions. See you next time in another video.